You didn't click this by accident. There is a reason your attention stopped here right now. At this exact moment. Before you understand why, stay with me. Because what is unfolding is personal, and this part matters. You have felt it for a while. A quiet pressure. A sense that something unresolved has been hovering over your life. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a knowing that something was taken, delayed or mishandled, in ways you could never fully explain. And even when you tried to move on, something inside you kept saying, "This isn't finished yet." Don't skip. You need to hear this. What you've been sensing is not confusion. It is timing. There are moments when silence itself is a sign that unseen decisions are being finalized. Not everything happens in public. Some things are settled where voices are calm, records are exact, and outcomes are already determined before they ever appear in your life. For a long time, you were asked to remain steady while others acted unfairly. You were asked to keep your integrity while others benefited from shortcuts. You were asked to walk forward while something behind you remained unsettled. That was not weakness. That was positioning. Stay with me, because this is where clarity begins. There is a difference between delay and denial. Delay is often protective. It allows truth to surface fully. It allows motives to be exposed without confrontation. It allows outcomes to be corrected without chaos. What you thought was being ignored was actually being documented. You may not have seen it, but nothing was missed. Every action, every intention, every imbalance, all of it was noted with precision, and now alignment has shifted. This is not about revenge. It is about restoration. When balance is disturbed, it must be corrected. When something is taken without integrity, it does not disappear. It waits for resolution. And resolution does not always arrive loudly. Often, it arrives quietly, with authority that cannot be challenged. You didn't need to defend yourself the way others expected. You didn't need to explain your side repeatedly. You didn't need to force an outcome. The work was being done beyond your reach, on a level you were never meant to manage. This part matters, so stay with me. There comes a moment when permission is granted for things to move back into proper order, when the timing is exact, when the conditions are right, when interference is removed without confrontation. That moment is not announced. It is activated. You are entering a season where corrections happen naturally. Conversations shift, decisions change. Doors that were blocked begin to open without effort, not because you pushed harder, but because alignment now supports you. This is how restoration works. It doesn't chase. It returns. You may notice people reconsidering their stance, situations adjusting in your favor without explanation, opportunities reappearing that once vanished. This is not coincidence. It is recalibration. Don't rush past this. There is strength in knowing that you were protected from acting prematurely. Had things resolved earlier, they would not have held. Had outcomes arrived sooner, they would not have lasted. What is coming now is stable, measured, and secure. You were kept steady for a reason. And here is what you need to understand clearly. When order is restored, it does not require your permission. It does not ask for approval. It simply happens. This is why you are feeling calmer instead of anxious. Why there is less urgency and more certainty. Why you are no longer trying to prove anything. The weight you carried was never meant to stay with you forever. Stay with me because the next part brings assurance. What returns to you may not look exactly like what was taken, but it will carry greater purpose. Sometimes restoration comes as clarity, sometimes as relief, sometimes as access you didn't have before. The form may differ, but the balance will be right. You are not behind. You are being prepared. The season ahead is not about confrontation. It is about movement. Forward movement that doesn't require explanation. Progress that doesn't need validation. Strength that comes from knowing things are finally aligned. You may still have questions. That's natural. But understand this: when something is resolved at the right level, it no longer needs your attention. It frees you to focus on what comes next. This is why you feel a quiet readiness, a sense that something is shifting without pressure. That is not imagination. That is confirmation. Don't skip. Stay with me just a little longer. What matters most now is how you walk forward. with steadiness, with confidence, without looking back to check if justice followed you. It did, and it will continue to do its work without your involvement. Your role is not to monitor the process. Your role is to receive the outcome. You were chosen to hear this because you are ready to stop carrying what was never yours to resolve. You are ready to step into a season where balance supports you instead of testing you, where forward motion feels natural again. This is not the end of the story. It is the moment where momentum quietly returns to your side. And as you move forward, you will notice something important. Peace will replace the need for proof. Certainty will replace the need for explanation. And strength will replace the need to look back. Stay focused. Stay steady. What has been set in motion does not reverse. And you will not need to chase what is already on its way back into alignment. Because alignment does not rush, it advances with certainty, and certainty never needs to announce itself. What has shifted will continue to move even when nothing around you appears different. Yet is how deeper change works. It begins underneath the visible layer, adjusting structures you were never meant to map. You may notice moments where old reactions no longer rise in you. Situations that once pulled you into explanation now pass without effort. That is not avoidance. That is elevation. When balance is being restored, your energy is no longer required to maintain defense. Stay with me. There is a reason your patience was stretched before this shift. Patience refines perception. It teaches you how to recognize what is truly aligned and what only appears urgent. Without that refinement, you might have mistaken noise for movement and distraction for opportunity. Now you are beginning to sense when something is truly meant for you. It doesn't demand your attention. It doesn't create anxiety. It settles into place with quiet confidence. This is important to understand because what unfolds next depends on your awareness more than your effort. There are outcomes already in motion that will not ask for your approval. They will simply arrive as corrected circumstances. You might hear a different tone in conversations. You might notice a shift in how others respond to you. You might even see doors opening that you assumed were permanently closed. Not all returns are dramatic. Some are subtle, yet far more powerful. Don't skip this. What was once misdirected is being redirected. What was once delayed is being reordered. What was once delayed is being reordered. And what once felt out of reach is moving closer, not because you demanded it, but because timing finally agrees with it. You are stepping into a phase where resistance dissolves rather than confronts, where progress happens without argument, where movement feels supported instead of forced. That is not accidental. It is the result of alignment reaching completion at a deeper level. You may be tempted to look for signs immediately, to measure progress by visible results, but the earliest confirmation comes internally. A calm sense of readiness, a release of tension you didn't realize you were carrying, a confidence that doesn't need reassurance. These internal shifts are not small. They are indicators that the ground beneath you has stabilized, and when the ground stabilizes, everything built on it can finally rise. Stay with me, because what comes next requires clarity. There is a difference between receiving and reclaiming. Reclaiming requires effort. Receiving requires alignment. You are moving into receiving. That means what returns to you will not come through struggle. It will come through permission. Permission is powerful because it removes obstacles without creating conflict. It adjusts circumstances quietly, efficiently, and completely. You may notice that things resolve without your involvement, that people reconsider without explanation, that outcomes shift without discussion. This is not coincidence. It is correction completing its work. And here is something you may not have considered yet. As balance is restored, your capacity expands. You are not just getting back what was unsettled. You are being positioned for what comes after. This is why the timing matters. What arrives now is meant to be carried forward, not revisited or reprocessed. It is meant to support your next steps, not anchor you to the past. You need to hear what comes next. There is a quiet confidence growing in you that does not rely on outcome. It relies on knowing. Knowing that what was misaligned has been addressed. Knowing that you are no longer waiting to be seen. Knowing that movement is no longer conditional. This confidence will guide you more accurately than urgency ever could. As you move forward, pay attention to what feels effortless. Effortless does not mean insignificant. Often it means aligned. When something fits without resistance, it is because it belongs there. And when something no longer fits, you will recognize it quickly, without doubt, without regret. This awareness is not random. It is the result of everything that has been adjusted behind the scenes. You are not meant to explain this season to anyone. You are meant to live it. There will be moments when you realize how protected you were from outcomes that looked appealing, but would have cost you stability. You may even feel gratitude for delays you once questioned. That understanding will come gently, in time. For now, remain steady. Remain observant. Let alignment continue to do what it was activated to complete. Because not everything that returns arrives all at once. Some things return in stages, each one confirming that the process is still unfolding, still precise, still active. And as this continues, you may begin to sense that something even larger is being prepared beyond what you initially expected. Not as compensation but as progression. That realization will matter later. For now, stay present, stay receptive, stay aligned. What is moving toward you has not finished arranging itself yet. And that is why you are being asked to remain attentive rather than impatient, aware rather than reactive, because what is still arranging itself responds to presence, not pressure. The unseen adjustments continue, even when your days feel ordinary, even when nothing announces itself outwardly. You may sense brief pauses, moments where things seem to slow again. Do not misread those pauses. They are not setbacks, they are calibrations. When alignment reaches a deeper layer, it often slows the surface so that nothing fractures as it settles. There is a precision to this that you cannot rush. Notice how your instincts are becoming quieter, clearer. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions. You are no longer second-guessing every step. This is not coincidence. When unnecessary resistance is removed, discernment sharpens naturally. You are being guided to recognize what deserves your energy and what no longer does. Stay with me. Some connections will feel lighter. Some obligations will loosen without conflict. Some expectations you carried for others will quietly dissolve. This is not loss. It is refinement. What remains after refinement is always stronger. As this continues, you may find that your words carry more weight without effort. That when you speak, there is less need to explain. Authority does not raise its voice. It settles into the room. This is an internal shift first. External confirmations follow later. You might wonder why certain things are still unresolved. Why a few threads remain loose. That is intentional. Loose threads allow movement. They allow the final adjustments to occur without restriction. Everything that needs to tighten will tighten at the right moment. You are not being prepared for a single outcome. You are being prepared for consistency. For stability that does not depend on circumstances behaving perfectly. For strength that does not fluctuate with opinion. This matters more than you realize. There will come moments when clarity arrives suddenly, not as new information, but as recognition. You will realize you already knew. You were simply waiting for alignment to catch up to your awareness. Those moments will feel calm, not dramatic. And as this unfolds, you may notice that you are no longer drawn to prove what you deserve. You are no longer trying to be understood by those who never intended to understand. That effort has been released for a reason. Energy conserved becomes momentum. You need to hear what comes next. There is a subtle redirection happening beneath your choices. You may think you are selecting what feels right, but what feels right has been refined for you. This is why certain options now feel unappealing, even if they once excited you. Your standards are adjusting, and with adjusted standards comes a different caliber of outcome. Do not be surprised if something you once pursued no longer calls to you. That is alignment closing unnecessary paths, so that focus can remain intact. Nothing essential will be taken from you in this process. What is essential is being preserved carefully. As you move forward, remain attentive to the quiet confirmations, rather than the loud signals. Loud signals often seek attention. Quiet confirmations carry certainty. And certainty does not rush. There is still more unfolding beneath what you can see. And not all of it is meant to be understood at once. Some understanding arrives only after stability is secured. For now, remain steady. Let the process continue without interference. What is arranging itself has not yet revealed its full shape, and as that shape continues to form, you may sense a quiet awareness that you are standing closer to the center of things than you were before, not because you moved aggressively toward it, but because what was misaligned around you is being drawn back into order. This is the kind of movement that does not announce itself. It reveals itself through consistency, through a steady feeling that your steps are no longer being interrupted by unnecessary resistance, through a sense that your presence carries weight without effort. You are not imagining that. There is a reason certain situations no longer demand your reaction. When alignment deepens, reaction gives way to response. Response comes from clarity, not urgency. It comes from knowing what matters and what does not.